Timothy wasn't clumsy. Not really. He was just a boy with a lot of energy and a knack for finding trouble, even when he didn't mean to. He just had a way of messing things up. It was almost like he had a special talent for turning the simplest tasks into grand adventures of chaos. Like the time he tried to help his dad wash the car and sprayed the inside with the hose. His dad's surprised face was priceless, and Timothy couldn't help but giggle, even though he knew it was a mistake. But Timothy really wanted to show everyone he could be helpful. He had a big heart and a lot of determination, even if his efforts didn't always go as planned. Especially today, because his mom promised him a trip to the bakery if he was good. The thought of those delicious pastries was enough to make him try extra hard. Being good was tricky, though. It was like walking a tightrope, trying to balance his natural curiosity with the need to stay out of trouble. It meant different things to different people. To his teacher, it meant sitting still. To his friends, it meant sharing toys. To his mom, it meant not causing any disasters. Mrs. Bumble loved her son a lot, even though he kept her busy. She admired his spirit and his endless enthusiasm, even if it sometimes led to unexpected messes. She knew Timothy meant well, even when he accidentally flooded the bathroom or set off the smoke alarm making toast. Each mishap was just another chapter in their daily adventures. Today was a big test for both of them. They had to navigate the day without any major incidents, and Timothy was determined to make his mom proud. Mrs. Bumble hoped Timothy's idea of being good matched hers, at least until they got back from the bakery. She crossed her fingers and smiled, ready for whatever the day would bring. The bakery bell rang as Timothy and Mrs. Bumble walked in. Timothy's eyes went wide, looking at the tall piles of cupcakes, the shiny trays of pastries, and a huge mountain of fresh bread. He felt like he was in a sugary dream. Mrs. Bumble patted Timothy's head. "Remember our deal, Timothy?" She reminded him, her voice a little serious. Timothy nodded quickly, staring at the donuts. He'd be good. He'd be perfect. He'd be... Oh, who was he kidding? Those donuts were just too tempting. Mr. Crumb, a really big man with a kind smile, chuckled at something Mrs. Bumble said. Timothy saw his chance. He'd just take a quick look, maybe a little sniff. Gap, 2S, whoops! Timothy bumped the display. Donuts flew through the air, landing with splats of icing on the floor, on Mr. Crumb's apron, and, oh no, on Timothy's head. Everyone in the bakery gasped. Time stopped as a single pink donut wobbled on Timothy's head, about to fall off any second. Mrs. Bumble's eyes went wide. This was not what she had in mind when she promised Timothy a treat. Not at all. Suddenly, a small, fluffy dog ran into the bakery, excited by all the noise and the smell of sweet treats. The bell above the door jingled as the dog made its grand entrance, causing heads to turn and smiles to spread across faces. The bakery was bustling with activity, but the little dog seemed to be on a mission. The dog, a playful terrier named Pip, belonged to Mr. Crumb, the bakery owner. Pip was well known in the neighborhood for his mischievous antics and boundless energy. He had a knack for finding his way into places where delicious treats were abundant. Pip loved sweets and always seemed to show up when there were treats around. His nose would twitch, and his tail would wag furiously as he followed the scent of freshly baked goods. It was as if he had a built-in radar for anything sugary. With a happy bark, Pip gobbled up the fallen donuts, licking the icing off the floor. He was in his element, surrounded by his favorite things. The sight of Pip enjoying himself brought a sense of joy to everyone in the bakery. Timothy, covered in icing and completely forgotten, stared in surprise. He had been helping out in the bakery when Pip made his unexpected entrance. The little boy couldn't help but laugh at the sight of the dog enjoying the treats. Mr. Crumb, quiet for a second, started laughing. His hearty chuckle filled the room, and soon everyone was joining in. It was impossible not to be amused by Pip's antics. Even Mrs. Bumble, who was known for her stern demeanor, smiled at the sight of Pip happily cleaning up the mess. She had a soft spot for the little terrier, despite his mischievous ways. Timothy, watching Pip, thought maybe, just maybe, dogs knew how to live life right. In that moment, he realized that sometimes a little bit of mischief and a lot of joy were all you needed to make life sweet. Mrs. Bumble knelt next to Timothy, gently wiping the icing from his cheek with a soft cloth. The bakery was filled with the sweet aroma of freshly baked goods, and the air was light with laughter. She's trying not to laugh, but she's smiling. Her eyes twinkled with amusement as she looked at Timothy, who was trying to look innocent despite the mess he had made. "Well, Timothy," she says, "I guess we'll have to talk about what being good means." Her voice was gentle, but there was a playful tone that made Timothy giggle. "But at least you made everyone laugh." The whole bakery seemed to join in the laughter, creating a warm and joyful atmosphere. Timothy, still covered in icing but grinning, nodded. His eyes sparkled with mischief and delight. Maybe a trip to the bakery wasn't about being perfect. Maybe it was about enjoying the little moments and the joy they bring. Maybe it was about laughing together, unexpected surprises, and a little bit of a mess. The kind of mess that makes memories. Timothy, Mrs. Bumble, Mr. Crumb, and Pip are all sitting at a table enjoying some fresh cookies that didn't fall on the floor. The cookies were warm and delicious, filling their hearts with happiness. Everyone is laughing, happy about the funny things that happened. The end. The bakery was more than just a place for sweets. It was a place for sweet memories.